TinkerCAD tips. Welcome back. This is going to be part 6 of the birdhouse design. If you missed tutorials 1 through 5 in this series, just click through to my profile. You'll find them right before this one. So where we left off, we were working on this corner part, which is the threaded hole for our 3D printed threaded screws here. So now it's time to place these in the shell of our birdhouse, and we have that back over here. Let's zoom out a ways. Let's go ahead and hide this front portion of it here. So I've selected it. I'm going to hit Control H to hide. All right, let's get a duplicate of our whole part back here. Control D. Let's bring that out. All right, now what we want to do is to get these to be just below the level of this edge, this cutout. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit W for work plane. I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to put that work plane on that top edge. There we go. And while that hole part is selected back here, the threaded hole, I'm going to hit D to drop. Let's bring that over here. Let's put our work plane back on the default, W. There we go. Now I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to bring this down to the level of that part here. Zoom in again. Let's use our W again. Now, you see the arrow of this work plane tool is pointing up. I'm going to hold down the Shift key so that the work plane is actually facing the other direction. Now, while this whole part here, this threaded hole is selected, now I'm going to hit D, and it's going to be right at the level of this lip. Once we have that set, I can hit work plane and put it back on the default. Let's cut around over here. Let's get this lined up with the shell part. So I'm going to select that shell. L to align. I'm going to click on the shell to make it the master. Those are aligned that direction. And now I can move this whole part, the threaded hole, into place, into the shell. And we don't want to cut into the threads, but we do want to moved in close enough. That's too far, right about there. So that's a good place for that. Now we need to do the other two corners, but for the other two corners, we want to rotate this a bit. So let's grab another duplicate of that, Control D. For now, I'm going to drag it over here. Now that cutout part at the bottom, I want to rotate. So I'm going to click on the rotation handle, and I believe we want to go 120 degrees. There we go. Let's bring that over here. Get it lined up in our corner here. And we can use the cursor keys to sort of shift nudge this into place. Okay, we're not poking through. Right about there is good. Now, to keep the next one in line here, we're going to do this a real simple way. While I still have that selected, I'm going to hit Control D. Let's do that again. Let's back out. We'll select on that, hit Control. Whoops. Control D. I'm going to hit M for mirror. I'm going to mirror it the other direction. I'm going to shift nudge it over here. And just like before, I'm going to move it over, but I don't want to be poking through the side here. That's too far. There we go. To make sure they're both perfectly aligned, I can select them both. temporarily. I'm going to union or bundle group them together. Control B. I'm going to shift select the housing, the shell there. L to align. I'm going to click the shell. Line down the center. Perfect. Now, before we group those into this back shell, I want to use them in order to do our alignment. Looks like our top one is out of alignment here. Let's fix that. Click on the shell. There we go. Now, for now, I'm not going to group those. I'm going to use those to align the holes in the lid for the screws to go through. So let's bring our lid back. That was hidden. Control-Shift-H to unhide. There we go. Now, back when we were making this threaded screw, I had pulled off this copy here. And I'm going to use that as I want to know the size. This is 9.7, so I want a hole that's about 10 millimeters in diameter. So we're going to bring that out. I'm going to hold Alt-Shift, click on a corner. We'll make that 10 millimeters. We'll increase the height just a little bit. We can bring that over here. Let's bring it up. All right, now while we have it there, I'm going to shift select this corner orange part, but we need to unbundle that. I'm going to shift select that whole cylinder, L to align. I'm going to click on this orange part to make it the master. Center it that direction. Center it that direction. So now that hole will be directly above these threads. Do the same thing for this other corner. I'm going to select that hole shape, Control D to duplicate. I'm going to shift select this orange part here. L to align. Click on the orange part to make it the master. Align it that direction. We'll do the third one here. Select that part, Control D. Shift select the orange part. L to align. Before I do that, let's move this part into the shell just a little bit more. There we go. Let's grab our duplicate back here again. Shift select that, L to align, click here, center it that direction. Okay, we have that aligned. Now we can come to the side here. Let's select those parts at the top. Control G to group them together. There we go. Now we can work on the bottom part and group those in. We'll select all of those parts. Control G, group those together. Now if we zoom in here and put our work plane on that lip, click on this part, hit D to drop, we should see that our holes in the lid are lined up with the threaded holes that are in the base of this. We can bring out one of our screws here. Bring that down a bit. For the moment, we could make this transparent. And you can see how that screw would fit in there, and it's got a little bit of gap at the bottom. So there you have it. There's our birdhouse project, done in 6 parts. Again, as always, if you have any comments or questions, you know where to drop those. Like, follow, repost. Hope you enjoyed this series of tutorials on this birdhouse and how to do these threads. See you on the next one. Happy tinkering!